Hi, this is Durward and here with Marcin, and welcome back to the Aikido Virtual Dojo channel. Today we're going to be talking about martial art, and particularly the art side. What does it mean to practice an art? Because when we practice a martial art, it has a certain flavor, a certain style. Aikido is different than karate or is different than Krav Maga. So every martial art has a different look, a different flavor to it. So, practicing the art that's been handed down over years in a certain tradition can actually be honed, and you can develop a certain depth to it. So let's take a look at what it means to practice a martial art. So when we look at the artistic side of a martial art, so particularly Aikido in this case, then we're looking at kind of a tradition that's been handed down. And, in Aikido, there's a couple of different styles. Probably two of the most famous styles, the most known styles, are the Aikikai and Iwama. For sure, there are other ones. But you have differences between those. For example, in any martial art, you would have differences between different schools within that particular martial art. Even in karate or Jiu Jitsu, there are different styles. So we could first take a look at that. So you could decide or figure out, what's artistic style, you're practicing. So for example, in Iwama style, we might start with a little bit more of a static position. And if we're doing a katadori ikkyo, we might move out and work on different angles, working from a static position and looking at the different principles while we do this technique, sinking and rising, and exactly where the feet go, the angles. All of these things become very, very important. In an Aikikai style, it usually tends to be a little bit more flowing. And so when they come in for a katadori, they would come down and move in for an ikkyo. Okay? So looking at how the style flows, how this sort of artistic style flows, what angles you need to be at during certain techniques, and developing your principles that are being explored in the techniques, those become important in the art.
As Durward mentioned, these principles in the movements, when you can explore the principles through your movements, it can also change the way your martial art looks, even if you're doing the same style, right? So if going just back to the basic four elements that we can express in our movements, when I'm more like the earth, solid, anchored with a solid base, right? When I do the movement, it's really like it's a solid, maybe a bit more static, not necessarily, but a solid expression of the movement, right? And then if we are in the movement, I can do the same thing, like more of a fire or with more energy in a bit different way. So we have this artistic side of expressing ourselves through our bodies, through our movements, of expressing different qualities or different elements.
So when you're practicing a certain style, a certain artistic side, developing a certain tradition, it's almost like learning, in any other kind of arts, maybe crafting ceramics or painting, for example. And you're going to learn certain techniques that have been brought down through the years, and you can practice those to develop a certain skill. And once you have enough skill developed, then you might be able to, express your own artistic side. It doesn't mean you couldn't already begin expressing that creative side, but having some skills to back that up, to help you discover how to paint, how to do a martial art, can always be very helpful. And from there, then you can really actually kind of create your own style, which is essentially what happens. I mean, every teacher ends up eventually kind of giving their own particular expression or flavor into the martial art as well.
So talking about artists and the artistic side of martial arts, every artist wants to improve his style, improve his craft, become better at what he's doing. So this is the side of perfectioning yourself or your expression of the style or of what you're doing. And then we can have a look at different movements. So even going through from the basic movements, when you start, your katate dori tai no henko might probably look a bit like this or something similar. And when you try to get it closer to perfection, I mean, things are never perfect probably, but you are trying to get it closer to perfection. So connecting earlier, feeling the center line of the uke, getting a more stable position, nice balance, stable position at the end, solid base. Then even inviting a bit in advance, so it's like, okay, I can, even from here I can invite the uke to move before I start moving. So there are different levels where we can connect, where we can feel it. And even the physical movement itself. So when I was starting Aikido, the first way I learned the katate dori tai no henko was like you go down and you go forward with the hand, which brings the uke into this movement forward. Now I do it more, I bring it in front of my center, and as I turn the body from the center, I inflict this movement on the uke, but from my center, not necessarily doing this diving movement with the hand. So this is like improving every time you do, over and over and over, you practice the same things. We practice very often the very basic things, the very basic movements, techniques in the training. We often repeat them because we want to improve them over and over again. And this is also this artistic side, like an artist, like a painter who is trying to make every time a better painting.
So when we talk about practicing a martial art, in the end, we're also looking at, acknowledging the artistic side, the traditional side of what we're studying, what we're practicing. And like Marcin had mentioned, perfecting the particular art, honing the sword, as maybe O-sensei had discovered, sharpening the mind as well as the body. And the artistic side helps us do that. And we learn a lot by diving deep into the tradition of what we're studying. So thank you again for watching, and we'll see you on our next videos.
Thanks.